The game of the year in college football, week number 5 on a Saturday night in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It's number 2, Georgia. It's number 4, Alabama. Joe, for just the third time in the regular season since 2015, these two teams meet up. Of course, a long series history between these two conference foes and many more meetings than just regular season affairs in recent memory. In fact, since 2021, they have met 3 times, as many times since 2021 in postseason play as they had throughout the regular season in the last decade. So let's get to the game on Saturday, because we might be seeing history. And in a man that knows his markets and his handicapping, this must be noted. The Crimson Tide is currently listed as a 2.5-point home underdog against the Bulldogs. It would snap a 113 consecutive home streak for Alabama, being booked as at least the favored side in all 113. The last time Alabama was a home underdog was the very first year that Nick Saban was the head coach in Tuscaloosa back in November of 2007 against LSU. Let me start with the spread, Joe. Will Alabama end as the home underdog by the time we get to 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday night?
It's, Ben, I can't help but to feel that maybe this number is a little bit off. I mean, Alabama coming off the route of Wisconsin in Wisconsin. Georgia, squeaked by Kentucky, barely gets by Kentucky. I don't know if I'm putting a whole lot of stock into either of those games. To me, Wisconsin's a bad football team. And I don't think, Georgia knew this game was coming up, right? So it was a clear look ahead spot. I don't think Georgia ever thought they were really in danger of losing Kentucky here. I still think Georgia is the better team. I don't think it's close. And I do think that this number is actually a little bit light here. So to me, Georgia, I would lay it. I'd take them on the money line. Georgia has now won 28 straight SEC games, 16 in a row on the road. I'll lay the 2.5. I'll lay the 125 in this one. Georgia wins this game.
Georgia has not lost in the regular season in a very long time. I believe the win streak is now at 41. I will double check that in just a moment. Let's go back to the start of 2021 for UGA. It was the resurgence in college football, their first national championship in more than 4 decades. From the start of the 2021 season, Joe, Georgia as a favorite, 22-23-1 against the spread. All right. Not great. They have been the favorite in virtually every single game, including against Alabama. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But that's often because UGA in non-conference play is not great at covering numbers. Now, in their SEC opener, 2 weekends ago in Lexington, as a 3-touchdown road favorite, they only won by a single point, which I do believe influences this line. But in SEC play, Joe, since the start of 2021, Georgia is 16-13 against the spread. If the Dogs are to win this game by even a field goal, they cover. Alabama has been an underdog only 5 times in the last decade of college football since that 2015 game against Georgia in the regular season. In 4 of those 5 times, the Crimson Tide has been booked as an underdog against these Georgia Bulldogs. The only other time, last year's Rose Bowl against Michigan in the college football playoff semifinal. Alabama in those instances is both 3-2 straight up and against the spread. Joe, Georgia has lost 2 football games. Only 2 football games since the middle part of the 2020 college football season, and each came to Alabama in the SEC title game. 3 years ago by 17 points, 41-24, but Georgia got the last laugh in the national championship, and a season ago as a 6.5-point favorite, losing by 3. I agree with you. I know this is a night game under the lights in Tuscaloosa. I know they are a road favorite against Alabama. Principle and precedent should tell you to just take the points with the Crimson Tide. But I think we often forget just how good Georgia is. And even with a 1-point road win in Lexington, I think Georgia makes a statement on Saturday night.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, now, granted, this is the first step of a few ridiculous challenges here for Georgia, because when you got to go on the road to Kentucky, you got to win. The only thing that matters if you're Georgia is win and continue to move on. But when you look at, not only do they have trips here to Alabama this week, they have to go to Texas and they have to go to Ole Miss. So this is a grueling schedule for Georgia, but none of that is going to matter if they lose this game against Alabama. I like that it's early enough in the season. This will be really the first road test to Georgia. I don't bet against Kirby Smart in these games without Nick Saban. This isn't the Nick Saban era anymore, guys. It's the Kalen DeBoer era, and I have yet to see it. I'll see it when I believe it, but until then, Kirby Smart is a guy I am not looking to fade in this spot.
And listen, in the first 3 games of the Kalen DeBoer era, Alabama also had a bye during week 4. They have been really good. The Crimson Tide 2-1 against the spread. The only time they did not cover. They came back to win by nearly 30 against South Florida, but they were a 30.5-point favorite. That game, of course, was just a 1-point game in the fourth quarter. All of that to say, though, Joe, I agree with you. Coaching advantage is with Kirby Smart. Now, with that being said, even if Georgia wins this game, as they are slightly expected to, I think both of these teams, Joe, are in the college football playoff, and the odds would agree. Yeah. Georgia remains the favorite in the SEC, ever so slightly, not just in front of Alabama by $1.50, but in front of the number 1 team in the country. That is Texas. Plus 250 for the Bulldogs to win yet another conference crown. Minus 550 for UGA to reach the college football playoff. I bet Alabama's price with a profit boost right before the year got started at minus 115 up to plus 109 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. That minus 115 price, a virtual pick'em, has now become minus 350. Even if Alabama loses at home, the reaction should not be overwhelming. The Crimson Tide, in my estimation, are at least a 10-win football team this year and will be back into the college football playoff for a second consecutive season, the debut year under Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, and the great part about having that grueling schedule, Ben, is that even if they weren't to win this game, a win over Texas or Ole Miss down the stretch on the road, they basically have to get to Atlanta. And if they win the SEC championship game, then they're the number 1 seed regardless. That's what Georgia is. That's how good they are. You don't want to get in front of this. I think they beat Alabama. Texas and Ole Miss are going to be totally different animals when they get to that point. But either way, they're going to the SEC championship game. They're going to represent, and they're going to be the favorite one way or the other.
42-game regular season win streak for Georgia, by the way. That is how good they have been. Again, there are only 2 losses since the middle portion of the 2020 season. If I do the math quickly, 48, 51. Out of 51, they are 49-2 since that middle part of 2020 have come against Alabama, both in the SEC championship game. Keep an eye on Carson Beck on Saturday night. Jalen Milroe has made history for the Crimson Tide in each of the first 3 games this year. Multiple passing touchdowns, multiple rushing touchdowns. The only quarterback in Bama history that can say that. It is going to be sensational on Saturday in Tuscaloosa. These are the kind of games that you yearn for in college football, and I bet you it delivers on Saturday night.